The Qianlong Emperor was the sixth emperor of the Manchu-led Qing dynasty, and the fourth Qing emperor to rule over China proper. Born Aisin Gioro Hongli, the fourth son of the Yongzheng Emperor, he reigned officially from the 11th of October 1735 to the 8th of February 1796.1. On the 8th of February, he abdicated in favour of his son, the Jiaqing Emperor, a filial act in order not to reign longer than his grandfather, the illustrious Kangxi Emperor. Despite his retirement, however, he retained ultimate power as an emperor emeritus until his death in 1799. Although his early years saw the continuation of an era of prosperity in China, his final years saw troubles at home and abroad converge on the Qing Empire. Early years. Hongli was adored both by his grandfather, the Kangxi Emperor, and his father, the Yongzheng Emperor. Some historians argue that the main reason why Kangxi appointed Yongzheng as his successor was because Qianlong was his favorite grandson. He felt that Hongli's mannerisms were very similar to his own. As a teenager, Hongli was very capable in martial arts and possessed a high literary ability. After his father's enthronement in 1722, Hongli was granted the title Prince Bao. Like many of his uncles, Hongli entered into a battle of succession with his elder half-brother Hongxi, who had the support of a large faction of the officials in the imperial court, as well as Yinzi, Prince Yan. For many years, the Yongzheng Emperor did not designate any of his sons as the crown prince, but many officials speculated that he favored Hongli. Hongli went on inspection trips to the south, and was known to be an able negotiator and enforcer. He was also appointed as the chief regent on occasions when his father was away from the capital. Accession to the throne. Hongli's accession to the throne was already foreseen before he was officially proclaimed emperor before the assembled imperial court upon the death of the Yongzheng Emperor. The young Hongli was the favorite grandson of Kangxi and the favorite son of Yongzheng. Yongzheng had entrusted a number of important ritual tasks to Hongli while the latter was still a prince, and included him in important court discussions of military strategy. In the hope of preventing a succession struggle from occurring, the Yongzheng Emperor wrote the name of his chosen successor on a piece of paper and placed it in a sealed box secured behind the tablet over the throne in the Palace of Heavenly Purity. The name in the box was to be revealed to other members of the imperial family in the presence of all senior ministers only upon the death of the emperor. When Yongzheng died suddenly in 1735, the will was taken out and read before the entire Qing imperial court, after which Hongli became the new emperor. Hongli adopted the era name Qianlong, which is composed of the characters and which collectively mean lasting eminence. Frontier wars. The Qianlong Emperor was a successful military leader. Immediately after ascending the throne, he sent armies to suppress the Miao rebellion. His later campaigns greatly expanded the territory controlled by the Qing Empire. This was made possible not only by Qing military might, but also by the disunity and declining strength of the inner Asian peoples. Under Qianlong, the Dzungar Khanate was incorporated into the Qing Empire's rule and renamed Xinjiang, while to the west, Ili was conquered and garrisoned. The incorporation of Xinjiang into the Qing Empire resulted from the final defeat and destruction of the Dzungars, a coalition of western Mongol tribes. The Qianlong Emperor then ordered the Dzungar genocide. According to the Qing dynasty scholar Wei Yuan, 40% of the 600,000 Dzungars were killed by smallpox, 20% fled to the Russian Empire or Kazakh tribes, and 30% were killed by the Qing army, in what Michael Edmund Clark described as the complete destruction of not only the Dzungha state but of the Dzunghas as a people. Historian Peter Perdue has argued that the decimation of the Dzungars was the result of an explicit policy of massacre launched by the Qianlong Emperor. Kaka, Mongol rebels under Prince Chingunjiv had plotted with the Dzungar leader Amur Sana and led a rebellion against the Qing Empire around the same time as the Dzungars. The Qing army crushed the rebellion and executed Qing and his entire family. For the compilation of works on the Dzungar campaign-like strategy for the pacification of the Dzungars, the Qing Empire hired Zhao Yi and Jiang Yongji at the Military Archives Office, in their capacity as members of the Hanlin Academy. Poems glorifying the Qing conquest and genocide of the Dzungar Mongols were written by Zhao. Zhao Yi wrote the Yanpu-Zaji in brush notes style, where military expenditures of the Qianlong Emperor's reign were recorded. The Qianlong Emperor was praised as being the source of 18th-century peace and prosperity by Zhao Yi. When victorious troops returned to Beijing, a celebratory hymn was sung in their honor. A Manchu version of the hymn was recorded by the Jesuit Amoit and sent to Paris. Throughout this period there were continued Mongol interventions in Tibet and a reciprocal spread of Tibetan Buddhism in Mongolia. After the Lhasa riot of 1750, the Qianlong Emperor sent armies into Tibet and firmly established the Dalai Lama as the ruler of Tibet, with a king resident and garrison to preserve king presence. Further afield, military campaigns against Nepalese and Gurkhas forced these peoples to submit and send tribute. The Qianlong Emperor sought to conquer Burma to the south, but the Sino-Burmese War ended in complete failure. He initially believed that it would be an easy victory against a barbarian tribe, and sent only the Green Standard Army based in Yunnan, which borders Burma. The Qing invasion came as the majority of Burmese forces were deployed in their latest invasion of the Siamese Ayutthaya Kingdom. Nonetheless, battle-hardened Burmese troops defeated the first two invasions of 1765–66 and 1766–67 at the border. The regional conflict now escalated to a major war that involved military maneuvers nationwide in both countries. The third invasion, led by the elite Manchu bannermen, nearly succeeded, penetrating deep into central Burma within a few days' march from the capital, Ava. However, the Manchu bannermen of northern China could not cope with unfamiliar tropical terrains and lethal endemic diseases, and were driven back with heavy losses. After the close call, King Shenbiushan redeployed his armies from Siam to the Chinese front. The fourth and largest invasion got bogged down at the frontier. With the Qing forces completely encircled, a truce was reached between the field commanders of the two sides in December 1769. The Qing forces kept a heavy military lineup in the border areas of Yunnan for about 1 decade in an attempt to wage another war while imposing a ban on inter-border trade for 2 decades. When Burma and China resumed a diplomatic relationship in 1790, the Qing government unilaterally viewed the act as Burmese submission, and claimed victory. The circumstances in Vietnam were not successful either. In 1787, Le Qtang, the last ruler of the Vietnamese Le dynasty, fled from Vietnam and formally requested to be restored to his throne in Thang. The Qianlong Emperor agreed and sent a large army into Vietnam to remove the Tay Son. The capital, Thang, was conquered in 1788, but a few months later, the Qing army was defeated and the invasion turned into a debacle due to the surprise attack during Tet by Ngu Yan Hu, the second and most capable of the three Tay Son brothers. The Qing Empire gave formal protection to Le Qtang and his family, and would not intervene in Vietnam for another 90 years. Despite setbacks in the south, overall, the Qianlong Emperor's military expansion nearly doubled the area of the already vast Qing Empire, and brought into the fold many non-Han Chinese peoples, such as Uyghurs, Kazakhs, Kyrgyz, Evenks and Mongols, who were potentially hostile. It was also a very expensive enterprise. The funds in the imperial treasury were almost all put into military expeditions. Though the wars were successful, they were not overwhelmingly so. The Qing army declined noticeably and had a difficult time facing some enemies. The campaign against the Jinchuan Hill peoples took 2 to 3 years. At first the Qing army were mauled, though Yu Zhongzhi later took control of the situation. The battle with the Dzungars was closely fought, and caused heavy losses on both sides. At the end of the frontier wars, the Qing army had started to weaken significantly. In addition to a more lenient military system, warlords became satisfied with their lifestyles. Since most of the warring had taken place, warlords no longer saw any reason to train their armies, resulting in a rapid military decline by the end of Qianlong's reign. This was the main reason for the Qing military's failure to suppress the White Lotus Rebellion, which started towards the end of Qianlong's reign and extended into the reign of the Jiaqing Emperor.